This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the LG Lucid 2 on Verizon. Yes, yet another goofy name for a phone, but honestly, it has one really strong thing going for it. It's free. Just free on contract. Hard to beat that. And actually, the specs are pretty nice on this. You get a dual-core Snapdragon processor, 4.3-inch IPS display, very pocketable, pretty slim, decent camera with HDR, and we're going to look at it now. So this is the LG Lucid 2. It's available now on Verizon Wireless for the grand old price of free on contract. 4.3-inch display, Android smartphone, Jelly Bean 4.1.2. A lot of phones are coming out with that version of Jelly Bean. Not quite the very latest, but late enough to make us happy. IPS display here, quite nice. The only thing is there's a pretty thick glass covering over the face of the phone, and viewing angles are a little bit affected by this. IPS displays usually have near 180-degree viewing angles, but it refracts light a lot. It's a minor complaint for a phone that's free. It's QHD resolution, so that's 960 by 540 pixels. A reasonable resolution for a phone that does not have a huge display, 4.3 inches, and it looks pretty sharp too. So obviously for this price, we're not going to beg for a full 1080p display on a smartphone, and it's nice enough. It's a compact phone, fits easily in the hand. I have to say, it feels nice in the hand too, a little bit curvy. Not super duper thin, 0.39 inches, but certainly not chunky. And they have little visual accents here that make it look a little bit more interesting and streamlined here. A little silver highlighting over here by your volume buttons. Side view right there, just plastic. Plastic's not such a bad thing. The last Lucid was kind of a shiny thing on the back, and that not only picked up a lot of fingerprints, it made it hard to keep hold of. So this one's pretty effective in terms of being grippy, at least, the texture on here. There's our speaker hole right here. Our 5-megapixel camera with the LED flash, obviously the LG logo, 4G logo right there. Up top, this part's a little bit shiny. Again, that gives it a little bit of visual interest, so I like that. There's our headphone jack and a microphone hole. This side right here, the power button, the same matching kind of, shall we say, sort of racing stripe thing going on, makes it look nice. And on the bottom, there's our micro USB port. But wait, here's something cool by today's standards. Looky, looky, you can actually take the back off of this phone and access your battery. Isn't that nice? So we grab by the micro USB port, yank that guy right off, and then there's our battery, clearly marked, 2460 milliamps. Micro SD card slot, always nice to have, and that's where the micro SIM card goes. So here's our lock screen right here. You can either drag the lock just to unlock it, or you see we have little shortcuts there that were at the bottom. Bring that back to life again. So say we want to go straight to Google or straight to the phone, you can do that, or straight to the camera. You yank that guy up. Cute little visual effect. 5-megapixel camera here, so, you know, not super rocking on the resolution, but to tell you the truth, it takes a pretty good picture, and having HDR on this is quite nice. We'll put our little favorite bath toy here so we can see it actually looking at something. We'll try to reduce the glare there on this big piece of glass on the front. So it has a reasonable amount of features right here. We've got flash control. You can choose focus mode between face detection and automatic, brightness control, zooming, built-in quick editing stuff, ISO. So a reasonable nice amount of features here for, again, a free phone. We're not going to complain. And it can shoot video as well, clearly. And when we switch to video mode, you can see we can go up to full HD recording on this. Again, very nice for the price of the phone. And we have live effects for our video here. Stuff that's definitely entertaining. LG does a nice job with the camera actually on their phones, so no complaints there. One funny thing about the buttons here, there's 4 of them. Usually we see 3 Android buttons, but we have back, we have home, and they don't stay lit very long, notice. We have the multitasking key, and we have a menu button built in. So usually you see double duty, and with the multitasking button bringing up menu options, but in this case, well, you get all 4. I find it a little confusing. I also find it pretty annoying that when you touch the screen, it doesn't light up the buttons as well, so you actually start having to fiddle around for the buttons, which is pretty annoying when you're trying to find maybe that key, but you hit the back button and get yourself out of what you were doing instead. That is what it is. You could set the backlight for the buttons to always be on whenever the phone screen is on, but of course that does take a toll on battery life. In terms of software customizations, on top of Jelly Bean, we have the Optimus 3.0 UI here. It gets less intrusive with every revision. That seems to be a trend with most manufacturers' UI customizations. You can see we got our AccuWeather widget here, favorite contacts, calling, 5 home screens. This Amazon widget is loaded by default because Verizon has a deal with Amazon to include their apps on there. It's starting to seem like the Amazon phone, honestly. There's so many apps on there for that. And here's what our launcher app screen looks like, and pretty customized. We have apps, we have downloads, we have widgets, and then you got settings here, so you can change stuff as you see fit. And on here we've got a couple of Verizon applications like My Verizon Mobile, the mobile hotspot app, which is just to control. Obviously your mobile hotspot, that works out fine. There's a setup wizard. Verizon Tones is on here, Verizon Security, Verizon VZ Navigator on here as well. Obviously your voicemail application. And we have, because Amazon owns IMDb, we have IMDb on here. We have the Amazon application. We have Amazon Kindle on here. We have Amazon MP3 on here. And we have Zappos as well, another affiliated with Amazon company thing. Standard Google apps are on board as well. You got your Google Play Movies and TV, or Google Music, Google Play Magazines, Google Play Books, Google Maps. All the stuff is right there for you. Polaris Office here is actually the full version, so you can edit, view, and create Office documents. That's certainly welcome on a free phone. You don't just get a viewer on this. And with LG's UI, we get the rich note. If you drag down here, you see a quick access to a couple of settings: sound, Bluetooth, GPS, screen rotation. Oddly not Wi-Fi right there. That's a separate little thing right over there, which brings you up to here instead. We have quick memo here, which lets you take a screenshot and do a memo anywhere. So this is actually a quick memo you're looking at, not the home screen itself. So we can do things like circle that, say, wow, it was a beautiful weather day there today. Share it, edit it, save it if we want to. And if you want to share it, quite a few options here. Like every other smartphone these days, you get a giant on-screen dialer, very easy to use, and we have access to our recent calls, all contacts, our favorites, and any calling groups on here. Call quality on the phone is just okay. Not superlatively loud and clear, to be honest. It gets the job done. We could understand each other, me and my call recipients, but just had to work a little bit at it. So not a super selling point for us here, call quality. Not hideous, but not great. In terms of speed test on Verizon's 4G LTE network, we'll take a look at the results right here, and you can see typical good Verizon stuff right there, as fast as almost 19 megabit per second down. They throttle the upload speeds in favor of the download speeds a little bit, so about 2.5 sometimes for our upload speeds. So we did get as high as 6 at one point, and good ping times there as well. So as a data phone, great, and again, it supports mobile hotspot features, so you can use this as a high-speed modem for your laptop or your tablet too. The phone has dual-band Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0. It does not have NSV. It does have a GPS. Every smartphone these days does have a GPS. And obviously it has Verizon LTE and EVDO Rev A 3G. As far as I know, this is not a world phone. It's not listed as such in specs, and looking in settings, there's no option to turn on GSM roaming. It has a front-facing video chat camera, and inside it has a dual-core 1.2 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Plus. That's a great CPU, and it benchmarks pretty well for that CPU. You know, funny, a year ago that was like the cutting-edge CPU, and now we're going, oh geez, no quad core, not too impressed. Well, honestly, it's reasonably fast enough. Certainly for most folks who are going to be using a smartphone, unless you're like a serious hardcore gamer and you really want the absolute best performance, it's perfectly adequate. Web browser runs fine on this. Movie playback is good on it. And benchmark-wise, it did pretty well. In terms of performance, you can see this is our Antutu score right here. Benchmark 11,443. That's pretty good. At 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon CPU, well, that's about what you're getting in the Samsung Galaxy S3 on the same carrier, and you get about the same level of performance. Just fine, actually. And if we take a look at our quadrant score right here, you can see what we scored, 5733, also very respectable and plenty fast enough for average use, except for those of you speeds and feeds folks who really want to have the fastest possible future-proof CPU. Obviously, a free phone is not going to be the most future-proof. You're not going to have the very best cutting-edge specs on the phone. The phone has a gig of RAM and it has 8 gigs of internal storage. Only about 4 gigs are free for your use. And keep in mind, with Android 4 and above, you got to store applications on internal storage, so you're going to want to put your big fat games and things like that on internal storage, and your lightweight applications too. But you can put all of your media, that means your music, your videos, your documents as well, on SD cards, microSD cards, since this has a microSD card slot. In terms of battery life, well, number one, we like the fact this has a removable battery and it's 2460 milliamps. That's pretty darn beefy. We had absolutely no problem making it through a day on a charge with this phone, so good times with that. The smaller screen and the dual core rather than cutting edge fast CPU on this really do help with battery life. It's a nice, sharp, bright, and colorful display. Bright is reasonably bright, not as wildly bright as the first Lucid. Mostly of concern there for outdoor viewability. This is just average for outdoor viewability, mostly because of the glare on the glass. But meanwhile, back to the game. Playing great. This is a pretty demanding 3D game, obviously. And it handles it just fine. So here's a lot of stuff. Don't be too intimidated. A lot of this is just for the car mount kit. First off, this is pretty nice desktop cradle right here. Not too heavy, but reasonably nice wedge design that actually stays on the table well. You can see, if you look in here, there's a connector where the micro USB plugs into the phone. Slide it in and you can charge it. And on the back, right here, there's a slot for charging a second battery, also very handy. So you just stick that guy in there like that. And there's our micro USB, and you get a secondary cable with that, and a charging head as well. So you can plug that in there and charge both of these guys at once, and you've got yourself a nice little nightstand companion. For those of you who say, aha, I hate to use cable for charging, there's the wireless charging back with a little bit of plastic over here that tells you to take the old back off, put the new back on. And that works with this little disc-like charger right here. Nice and compact, I like that. So you just rest the phone right on top of it and you can do wireless charging. And lastly, all these other pieces right here are for the car mount kit. We have a suction cup right here so you can stick that to your windshield. And here's the part that then clips in here to hold your phone. So you can use this guy in the car. All in all, again, I can't say enough, for free, it's really not a bad phone. I would say get the best phone you can afford, but not everybody really can afford to put any money into their smartphone, and this is a lot to get for just the cost of your monthly contract fees, honestly. So that's the LG Lucid 2. Again, it's available now on Verizon Wireless, and it's free with a contract. And if you're looking for your first smartphone, you don't have much money to spend, you want something small, it's definitely worth a look. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.